Hey guys, what's going on? Derek here, and in today's interview, I'm speaking with Ron, who has an amazing story. Ron's been a member of our community for quite a while, and I've been very excited to get this interview with him. And really, what we're talking on today. We're talking thinking big. Ron started from humble beginnings in real estate, flipping houses, and he actually parlayed that momentum into a very successful government contracting construction business. Where he's actually won several contracts that we're going to be getting into today for his construction business. But he started out in real estate, and I thought that was a really cool thing that people could relate to, a great, kind of humble beginnings success story, starting from, point A, going into government contracting when maybe that wasn't even the plan from the get-go. So let me go ahead and add Ron to the stream here. And Ron, if you can hear me, let me know. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Ron is on the up and up, overcoming COVID. So I'm so grateful to have this opportunity with him, getting his strength back. And it's just the real thing, unfortunately, what's going on, and that's why we all have to stand strong, stand together. That's why we're doing these interviews, to help each other out, because everybody needs the help more than ever. And Ron's story, I believe, is really gonna touch and help a lot of people in our community. So hey, Ron, I think we can kind of just get into it. Why don't you just take it from the top? I know you got started out in real estate. I think you said it was 2003, and eventually you got into flipping houses. Could you kind of just take us back then to get us started at? I know you've been self-employed for quite a while. Take us, starting from there, and we can kind of build on it from when you were in real estate.
I'll take it a step kind of like further.
Oh, yeah.
And right below that, because I think it frames who I am as a person. I was born in the States, but I was raised in Guatemala, and my parents are entrepreneurs. I guess in a lot of Latin American countries, because of the way the systems are set up, you are almost forced to be an entrepreneur if you want to have a reasonable lifestyle. And so my parents were that. But my dad didn't even finish elementary school. He made it to the 4th grade. And my mom learned how to bake cakes in high school. So that's kind of like the setup. For a very, very early beginning, I was given the belief that education is the key to making and breaking through. And I kind of agree to that, but I would have to say a self-education is much more powerful than a structured education. So once I got out of the Marine Corps, I had the opportunity to go with a scholarship to USC. And I studied business at USC. And I was introduced to a lot of USC, University of Southern California, one of the top business schools in the country. And in there, I was introduced to a lot of people with, millionaires and entrepreneurs and so forth. And I kind of got a taste of it. And one of the things that I always wanted to do was to be an entrepreneur. But when I graduated school, I went to work for corporations, because that's kind of like the way the system pushes you through, right?
Climbing the ladder.
And then, I remember trying to make it, and I'm pretty well versed, and, I have some pretty good, strong set of skills. So I was able to kind of like climb very fast, but also bump and, create too much trouble for a corporate environment. So when I was working as a banker in the early 2000s, I realized somebody mentored me or gave me the advice to become a mortgage broker. And I got my license. And I guess I wanted to share this because it's good for your audience that are at that point where they have a job, but they're trying to be entrepreneurs, right? So What happened at that moment is I got my license and I learned how to do loans. And I did a couple loans and I made like $10,000 in a month. And I was kind of like, wow, like I can make that much money, right? And then the next month I did 3 loans. And then the next month I did 4 loans. And then for the first time in my life, I was making $20,000-$30,000 a month, not consistently, and at that time, caveat here, at the time of the mortgage crisis, like a dog, you can give a dog a social security number and get a loan. So there was money coming very easily, right?
Right.
But at that moment, I started making more money in my mortgage business than in my bank business, and I quit my bank business. And that's when I became an entrepreneur and self-employed. And then after that kind of died down, I focused more on real estate and helping people with real estate crisis that it was, doing short sales. And I went to law school because a lot of people were doing bankruptcies and this and that. And I was kind of like, okay, I need to empower myself with legal knowledge, and so I can help people better. And I went to law school. But then after that, I bought a property, I flipped it, I made a boatload of money in that, and I was like, wow, I can do this. And of course, this is not the case anymore. Like if you're flipping properties, you can probably make $20,000-$30,000 per property, and you have a lot of risk, and a lot of times you don't make money. So you make more money as a real estate agent than as a flipper. So it's not as easy as saying, oh yeah, flip properties and make a lot of money. It's very difficult. But I realized that the people that were helping me fix the properties were mainly Spanish speakers and knew how to do drywall really good, knew how to do carpentry really good, but didn't know how to pass an exam really good. And I was like, I was blessed with that. And so let me study for the contractor exam and help these people. So I got my contractor exam and my license in 2006. At the time I was a veteran. I had a real estate license. I had a construction license, but I didn't know much about anything else. So I'm slaying away, trying to get my business going. A little disorganized and growing. It was not until 2019 beginning that I was asked by a friend of mine, hey, why don't you get certified? And I said, well, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Now, when you're saying certified, are you talking about like a service disabled or a VOSB certification, or like SAM registration? Like what type of cert?
Like service disabled veteran-owned business, and then also a small business, and also disadvantaged business. And at the time, the price of ignorance, I have to say, is really high. And I was ignorant, right? And I was paying a very high price. And I say since 2006, when I was a service disabled vet already and a contractor already, but I didn't put them together. Right. Since then, I've been driving around. I like the analogy, driving around the truck with a lottery ticket in it that I never checked. And it is the winning numbers, right? Because
that's a great analogy.
Being certified allows you the opportunity to get access to government jobs more quickly and better. And I took advantage of it, and it opened up a new doors.
So Ron, I actually want to stop you right there because that's such a great point, talking about the SDVOSB certification. It's something that I get a lot of feedback from members in our community, and a lot of them find it either challenging, or they're curious about maybe finding if it's a right fit for them, if they're able to qualify for the service disabled veteran-owned small business set-aside status. Could you just take a quick minute to share a little bit about your experience and your process getting that certification for your business? I think it would be huge for others to hear.
Yeah, a couple of technical issues, right? The number one thing, you need to have a service disability rating with the VA as a veteran. And that in itself can be a very challenging process because you're dealing with the VA. But there's a large number of veterans that already have it. Like, it doesn't need to be, it can be 0%, because it goes from 0 to 100. You can get 0% rated, right? Like you can have a scar on your face, and that's a service disability, or a scar on your arm, and that can be a 0% disability rating. Like, they recognize that you have a scar, but you don't rate any compensation for it. So that process can be a little challenging, and I recommend that you get with an expert. Don't try to do it yourself. I did it many years ago, and I try to do it by myself And it was not until I found somebody that works for the county here that knows what they're doing that he walked me through it, and the results were great. Now, assuming that you have it, you have that app already. The process is actually quite simple. You get your service disability rating letter, and you go to the VA website and you submit it, and you get it going. You can also be a veteran-owned business. You don't have to be a service-disabled veteran-owned business. So as with anything else, I think it's as challenging as you want it to be is not unsurmountable. It's just you need to take the steps to do it. If anybody of your audience has a question, they can contact me and I can point them in the right direction. Every state is slightly different as to how they assist veterans, but is not unsurmountable, is doable, and the benefits are incredible. So I would say just get it going and don't give up until you get there.
And about how long did that whole process take? Can I hear 3 months, 6 months?
So it really depends on each individual and what documentation they have ready. Once, for me, it wasn't that difficult. It was a little difficult because I'm a corporation and I was already in business, and I had to prove that it is my corporation. And one of the challenges that I had, for example, was that you need to be the highest paid person in your corporation or in your business. And I was not the highest paid person. As usual, the leader gets what's left over. Right. And in many years, there was not a lot of things left over. So I had employees that, made $40,000 a year that made more than me on paper, right? So that was a little bit of a challenge. But it's not trying to prove to them, and I guess this is broader advice for the government. You're not here to try to push what you believe is true. You're here to check in the box that they have. You're not going to convince them to do things differently. I'm not going to convince them about why I'm not the highest paid or whatever. Right. There's a workaround method. One of them told me just submit a letter and say that you forgot compensation because you're reinvesting the money in the business, and that'll check the box. So just do the letter, check the box, move on. So just like with so many of these set-asides, it's the paperwork, it's checking the boxes, and that's really what, and from my experience as well, is what the majority of the time is spent on, kind of gathering, getting all that stuff ready to go. Because then once you submit it and you've got everything, ready to go, and say they're not going to kick it back necessarily because you did it right the first time, because that's another thing that can cause time tie-ups if things get kicked back and you didn't check all the boxes and they're like, you missed this and you missed that. So it really sounds like doing that, kind of right from the get-go before you're ready to submit. And then once you submit it, it doesn't take too long after that to finally get in the game, which has been my experience for a lot of set-asides. So I think that's good for everybody to hear that it's not impossible. Don't try to convince them that you're right. Don't be emotional about it. Don't be offended about it. Just check the box, man. The smartest way possible and move on. Awesome. Yeah, there we go. Well, that's all said. Let's get back to the story. So we kind of left off. It was around 2019. I think you said it was a friend or a colleague that said, hey, why don't you get, certified, get into government contracting? Let's pick it back up from there. So I did. I got certified, and then I got an email from the VA or the National Cemetery Administration saying, hey, we have some opportunities for service-disabled veteran-owned construction companies, and we really think you should come to DC and be in this presentation we're going to give. Oh, wow. And I was in LA, and I was kind of like, oh, wow, this sounds very good. And then Lucas, who's my friend, who then came and worked for me, he's an Army vet. And he's the one that helped me or gave me the idea to get certified. Once I got wind of the benefit of it, then I became very involved in it, right? And I joined veteran groups, and I started networking and getting a little bit more, paying attention to it. The city of Los Angeles has a very good contractor and bonding assistance development program that I became part of. I educated myself. All of these resources are free, right? generally speaking. So once I got that call, I told Lucas, hey, he's like, I'll go. And Lucas got on the plane to his benefit. And, I told him he's my friend forever.
Nice.
He got on the plane that morning. No, he got on the plane at midnight, flew over there, landed at 6 because he was in DC. This is prior to the lockdown. Got in there, got an Uber, went to the meeting, got out of the meeting, grabbed a sandwich on the way back to the airport and came back to LA the same day. And, I didn't ask him to do that. He just did it himself. And he said, yeah, this is a great project. It's called a MayTalk, a multiple work task order contract. If we get it, we'll be part of a group of 3 or 4 contractors that will be getting all this task order work for the next 5 years. And we should do it. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And we did the paperwork, we submitted it. I have to say, I have so much faith in it. Lucas, it took like 6 months and we didn't hear anything. And Lucas came back apologizing that he had done it wrong and this and that. I said, no, we haven't heard about it. And I'm going to show you how much faith I have in this. I said, that Marine Corps tattoo that I never got, I'm going to go get it now. I believe that we're going to get this contract and this is a success. And I have a big tattoo here now. And I got the tattoo prior to the contract because I believe we were going to get it. And, probably about a week later, we got a letter saying, congratulations, you've been awarded. And that was our first contract. We were part of this multi-year contract with the National Cemetery Administration. And I've gotten a few since then.
So where was the period of, or the place of performance for that contract? Because he flew out to DC. Was the work being performed back in California or?
Yeah, it's a good thing you bring that up. It's the Pacific region it encompasses California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Idaho, Arizona, and Hawaii. And a lot of that may seem intimidating to a regular person. The way I kind of looked at it, because of my real estate broker experience, I go, I'm kind of being like a broker. My job is to find a local contractor to subcontract the business to, local tradespeople, I should say, an electrician, a plumber, a roofer, and have them do the work. And I'll make sure that the work is being done and I manage it and supervise it. And I do the paperwork with the government and make sure everybody's paid, make sure everything is being done properly. So I became a construction manager. So one of the things that I think is important that for people to understand is you have to pay probably more attention to your capabilities and growing as a business person yourself and being able to deliver. Because once you get certified, you'll get a flood of opportunity. And you're not limited by what work you can get, you're limited by what work you can perform. So make sure you're setting yourself up for performance as well.
And I was just pulling up while you're explaining that, because this is definitely a point I want to touch on for a second. So guys, as you're listening to this, Ron was and is a prime contractor. Okay. So he's a prime contractor. And since he's in construction, he's a GC, he's a general contractor. He said he got his GC license earlier in the day. What that means is he's working with subcontractors to perform within what's called the limitations of subcontracting, where he himself, is got to manage and self-perform a minimum amount, and then subcontractors, the different trades on the job, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, demo, all these different trades, and the ones that Ron was touching on, they are allowed to do the rest of the work. And this is a very typical way of how, whether it's in the commercial space or the government space, how a GC works. A GC will oversee, they will manage, they may even self-perform some of it, but then it's their job to basically, as Ron said, as a broker, basically bring these subs and these trades together to get the job done in accordance with the statement of work and, the timeline, and make sure that there's not liquidated damages on the job, and that there, if there is, you're finishing before that, all those things that require a lot of importance and attention to for the success of the contract. That's what Ron is talking about. 15%, I believe, is the limitations of subcontracting for construction, which means, up to 85% can be subcontracted out, and 15% is, Ron's actual company. So that's exactly, for anybody who didn't understand that, that's exactly what Ron was explaining. And that's what it has enabled him to do this MayTalk, multiple award task order contract, on the entire West Coast. Like, I asked the question to kind of take us here, like, hey, was it in just one area? Well, no, this is multiple states, guys. And this is how he's able to oversee and manage that and be successful. And once you get into the game, you realize this is all normal. This is just par for the course. But if you're new to this is the sort of ways that you need to be thinking and learn about. So thanks for sharing that, Ron. I think that's a huge takeaway for people.
Yeah, one of the things, I guess, you wanted to think big, right? And I think I'd be remiss if I don't share this. As I was going through the opportunities one day, I was like, well, who do I know that can provide me capital? Because the business needs capital. And I have a lot of clients that are Orthodox Jewish in my real estate practice. So I was like, they have a lot of money and they like Jewish causes. And let me key in some Jewish cause words in SAM, and beta.sam.gov, and find out what kind of work I can get there. That way I can probably get some capital. Well, make the story short, Israel popped out, and it was an Israel Industry Day. And I went to it, and I realized that there's a tremendous opportunity, and it's very complex to explain, and maybe we'll do that some other time. But sure. The bottom line is I submitted a MayTalk. They have a MayTalk in Israel to do construction work in Israel, to have Israeli subcontractors work for you, because the work has to be done by a U.S. construction company. So I'm like, well, I can do this. I can see the map. I can see the points. I can connect them. Yep. Let me go for it. And I submitted the application. The contract has not been awarded. I feel very optimistic that we will get it.
Oh, wow.
And there's a couple MayTalks. It's a 4-year MayTalk, I think. One is it's $50 million, and the other one, Israel North, is $50 million. Now, it's important to say this is $50 million budget for construction they have. And that is allocated to all the people that are in the MayTalk, which is usually, 4 contractors. And the work is spread across all of us. And the task orders are the actual contracts that are assigned. And those can be, in this particular MayTalk, anywhere between $50,000 to $10 million per project. So here I am thinking big, going international, going MayTalk, because I see the formula, and it's very scary. There's a limitation on the bonding ability, being able to bond that contract. And I'm trying to structure some ways in doing that, and work around. It's not all resolved. It's in process. But everything is possible. I'm a man of faith, and I believe that you think big and you take action, you can go get it.
I mean, absolutely. And I mean, we're just talking since 2019 here. So the amount that you've been able to accomplish just since, kind of getting certified and getting set up and getting into that first MayTalk, and then everything since then has been huge. I do want to, before we go any further, I do want to touch on MayTalk and bonding. Probably not a whole lot of time in bonding, but MayTalk and bonding, again, just for our viewers here that are new. Guys, Ron already explained it, but if you missed it, MayTalk, multiple award task order contract. What this means is an agency, a base somewhere, and it's not necessarily construction. MayTalks can exist for services or base operations. However, they are very prevalent in the construction industry specifically. And what this is, it's basically it's almost like a license to hunt. So you respond to the MayTalk as a competitive bid. They may ask you to, include your rates, things like that they're going to use to evaluate you. If you get on the MayTalk, since it's multiple award, that means you basically get a license to hunt along with other, your competition, other vendors, other small businesses. So once you compete to get on the MayTalk, if you win, Okay, now it goes from everybody to a very selected few, like a small pool of contractors. That doesn't mean you win anything. You've got nothing. You still have zero. From that point on, now based on the rates and the things that you submitted on that initial response to the MayTalk and you won, you use that information to respond to task orders that come out over time. So the base may say, hey, we need a new roof put on this building, or we need a new parking lot paved. Well, only those who are on the MayTalk, and in Ron's case, 3 or 4 or 5 companies maybe, are going to bid on that, and they're going to win. So it goes from a big pie to a very, very, relatively small pie, which makes your chances of winning, pretty much through the roof. And so you want to make sure you're being very active, bidding on everything, because you'll get emails all the time saying, hey, we got this coming out on the MayTalk. Here's task order number 1, here's task order number 4, bid on it, so that you can at least win, a few of them, win your fair share. So that's what a MayTalk is, if you're not familiar. And like I said, in the construction space, it is a critical strategy for many to get on these MayTalks, because as Ron said, they're for 4 or 5 years. And sometimes they're for 10 years, and they will do like on-ramping and off-ramping to the contractors that aren't being active. They'll kick them off and they'll bring on new ones that want to be active if it's like 10 years. But otherwise, if you're not, you miss out, and you can't do business with that particular, agency or base or whatever, because you're not on it. So you kind of got to watch for these if you're in the industry. So that's MayTalk. We never really talked about that much on the channel, which is why I spent a minute to just talk about it here. And then Ron, bonding. Bonding is something that's also specific to your industry. It's a form of insurance that's required to take out. Can you just talk a little bit about bonding for those who don't know, and why it's something that's essential to actually do business in the construction arena in government contracting?
Yeah. So by law, I think it's called the Miller Act or something like that. Yep. The government, whenever they give a contract, at least in the construction, the service provider needs to be bonded. That means that a surety or insurance company needs to guarantee the work that you're going to do. So let's say we have a project of $1 million. We'll have a bond of performance bond of $1 million. And that bond, basically the insurance company is saying, if Ron doesn't do it, we will pay for anybody else to do it, even if it is $1.2 million, $1.2 million.
Yep.
Even if it's more expensive, we will pay for it and the job will get done. So from the government's perspective, they're entering into a contract with a guaranteed outcome, basically, right? The job will get done. If Ron doesn't do it, the insurance company will pay for somebody to do it, or we reimburse us whatever it make us whole. We're not paying more than $1 million.
Yep.
So that's a bond, let's just say. Now, the challenge for most small businesses that have no, like me, they have very skinny past performance and very limited cash and working capital. What happens if I get a $30 million job? Oh my God, I need to fund materials, people, offices, trips, hotels, this, that. And if I don't have the money to do that, I'm not going to succeed. So the bonding company is going to underwrite me as a business and say, how much working capital does he have and how much experience does he have? And they will set up what is called a bondability. And they say, okay, Ron is good for like $3 million projects up to one project will be $3 million, but altogether, if he has a few projects going, he cannot exceed $6 million, let's just say.
Yeah, so it'd be like 3 million single, 6 million aggregate is what they would call it, right?
Correct. And I'm just throwing those numbers out there, but it can be $400,000, it can be whatever. It is absolutely positively important that you find a bonding broker that has a passion for small business and small business growth. So my first bonding broker expressed that, but they were very kind of limited, and they were like, so based on my credit alone, I qualified for $400,000. So she was, okay, I was at a $600,000 limit for like a year, and I was trying to bid on $1 million projects already, right? Because it takes me the same amount of time to do $1 million project that it takes me to do a $100,000 project, because I'm managing the construction, right? I'm managing a little project or I'm managing a bigger project, same amount of time. So I'm trying to get out there on my bondability and my bond limits. And there was no way that she was going to get me to $1 million. And she kept saying no and no. And then through the people that I know, calling people, I got a hold of a solar person, and I have a new bonding person now. And, my bondability right now is around $3 million per project. And it went up really quick. I was on a $1.2 million drop of a hat, just because she's able to share my passion, and she put me with a surety that feels comfortable. And then it's important. One of the things that I did personally is I became an open book with my surety, and I shared my financials with them. I share what projects I'm bidding on. Right. Periodically, every week, I tell them how much we're advancing on our projects. And, they give me some advice, and I listen to it and I incorporate it. So you have to have a very good working relationship with your bonding company and with the surety. And we have a weekly call with them, and they understand where I'm going and I understand what they want. But it is important to find a bonding company that shares a passion for small business and growth, because not everybody's going to do that, and they may try to keep you artificially limited.
I think that's huge. You explained it way better than I could. Having that key relationship is so important, specifically for construction businesses, specifically for those who want to do construction with the VA or any other federal agency, even state or city. Bonding is something that pertains to the commercial world as well. It doesn't go away. So if you're in construction, you probably already know about this. But for anybody who's listening, that's why bonding is so important. And as Ron said, having that relationship and this, understanding and a passion for small businesses, it's going to allow your business to kind of grow instead of maybe being fixed into a cap, because the government's going to ask you guys when you're bidding, what is your bonding capabilities? That's why I called that out, like 3 million single or 6 million aggregate. The government's going to say what they need you to be at. And if you don't have enough bonding, you can't bid on it. So you either need to go to your surety broker and see if you can get your limits raised, or if you can't, then you just can't bid on it. So it will literally limit the growth of your business and your ability to bid on contracts if you don't have it. This is something that's very, very real. So I wanted to spend a minute there. I think that's a good amount of information to get people to knowing what they need to know, to look around if they don't have a bonding company, to start looking for them and finding what's going to be a good fit for them.
Yes.
So now I believe you had also mentioned did you also win a contract with the VA for I think you said it was 1.4 million. Was that the MayTalk? Yeah. Or was that a different contract?
That's outside of the MayTalk.
That's what I thought.
So yeah, once you're in it and you perform and you develop your relationships, it becomes easier to you. You speak the language, you fill out the forms properly, you do all of that, right? And I mean, the process is still highly regulated, and out for bidding for everybody. They bid on it. So the National Cemetery Administration came with a project, and we bid on a couple of projects outside the MayTalk that we didn't get. But we got Bakersfield National Cemetery expansion project, which we're doing a lot of grading work, and we're doing a street, and we're setting up for future growth. And it is a $1.4 million project that we're in the process of doing. We're probably about 40% done with it already.
Wow.
And it's going good. It's yeah, I'm very, very happy. I think Providence, faith, whatever,
yep.
It was the perfect project for us because it's simple. This perhaps it's another opportunity to unpack a little bit of information. Not every client is the same. in the city of LA, for example, is very cumbersome. And we have another project where May get, and it's doing some street work in a very busy street, and it involves 8 cable companies that have a cable that run through there. It involves concrete, it involves rebar, it involves electricians, traffic control, safety, this, that, and the submittals for the city of LA are huge, and it's very difficult. Whereas the cemetery one, there's no traffic, it's grading, it's some irrigation system, it's a lot easier to handle. And it was the right project for us to bid on. So yeah, we're set up on that, and we're bidding on other, primarily as we grow and we understand other clients, we're trying to stay narrow and say, we're just going to do federal contracts.
For sure. There's so much wisdom in that. And even though you've only been in this particular space for a few years, I definitely get the sense that you've hit on a few points. I get the sense that you're already acquiring the wisdom of kind of not going after everything. As you said, customers are different, and especially in the construction field, because I do have a number of projects under my belt in the construction industry as well. And I had to learn some lessons the hard way. I mentioned liquidated damages, LDs, other thing, near misses, God forbid, you don't want anybody to get hurt on a job. Construction is just an animal in itself, and you need to be attuned to what you're doing, but you also need to know your customer and know what they expect, and also know the intricacies of maybe, like you just said, the differences between the two jobs. I may want to take a smaller job if it means maybe it could still be more profitable or have higher profit margins and less risk for the job being delayed or prolonged unnecessarily, because I'm waiting on maybe 3 other jobs that are going on at the same time to finish, and they're delayed, so I'm delayed. It's just really messy. So the wisdom that I love that you're talking about is, it's like, hey, everything may not always be about going after the top dollar or chasing every customer. Choosing the right job for you, as you said, there's a lot of wisdom there. And folks who take that for granted, they're going to learn the hard way potentially. Unfortunately, we all do sometimes. And one thing that I can share is we had a construction job out in Pennsylvania, National Guard, Mechanicsburg area. And we were doing a firing range job, and we had, a site super, safety officer there, PM, that would be at the office, estimators. We had our own in-house construction team, but we had an employee that was local. That way we weren't, paying per diem and to send somebody from Michigan over to Pennsylvania. So like you said, finding a local team is huge. So we found some local subs, but we also found a local super for that job. And he knew that the job, is eventually going to come to an end, right? And that's how construction is. One job ends, the game of construction, you got to keep your employees working, right? That's the name of the game. You don't want to be laying people off and bringing them back on. It's tough, but it happens. It does happen, and it is normal. But this particular individual, and I'm sharing this story because hopefully you can't relate, but others may, or at least it's something you can look out for. But kind of managing your own people, because this super knew the job was going to end, say, in 3 months, he thought it would be smart to start delaying things without kind of letting us know the details, because, it's kind of hard to manage things from Michigan, and that's what his job was. And then he would report back to us in Michigan at a high level. And once we realized that this job is going on months and months past the actual completion date, and we only found out after that there were liquidated damages to the tune of, like, I don't know. I don't remember what it was, between $600 and $1,000 a day. He was just prolonging the job so he could keep his job. And it ended up being a loss. We had to take this job, was not profitable at all. It was a total loss. And say this was our first contract, they would have put us out of business, but we had working capital and we had other things built up that we could handle this. But I kind of got a front row seat to something like this. And it's just like, hey guys, if you're going to be utilizing this strategy, like Ron said, even with his bonding company, he's having weekly calls, right? He's having weekly calls with his bonding company. You know for damn sure that he's speaking with his employees, even if they are remotely located on these jobs, on a very regular basis. And I'm sure he's very in tune with the project milestones and deadlines for the jobs, because things like this happen, unfortunately. And it's really a tale that I like to tell so that hopefully others don't go through this on their own. But again, I think my main point is coming back to picking the right job for you, and a job that you know that you can manage and do a good job, because you don't want to take something that's either too big for you or too hard for you to manage, because it could actually end up doing more harm than good.
One of the things, thank you for sharing that. And one of the things that comes to my mind is, I think it was Jim Rohn who said, you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of the time with, right? Mm-hmm. So I think to that, the lesson is learn who you're spending your time with, and learn who's working for you, and et cetera, what subcontractors. One of the things that we're starting to apply right now at our company is subcontractor qualification process, to make sure that we are partnering or subcontracting to companies that are actually better than us, so they can pull us up.
Yes.
Because we have an example where we all want to be helpful, right? And this guy is just getting started, and we gave him an opportunity, and now it's a nightmare. The guy doesn't show up. His submittals are not submitted. I gave instructions to my superintendent to basically become this guy's babysitter, to go to his office, to turn on the computer and to print and to do the report himself. We're doing his job. Why? Because we selected him, and we got in bed with him. Now we got to sleep with him. So it's kind of like his limitations become our limitations. So it's important to be disciplined and strategic in your decision making, and partner with the strong subcontractor or strong employee, so that you can grow with them and they don't pull you down. They push you up instead of pulling you down.
100%. I mean, a recent interview with Jeff that we had earlier on the channel, he actually, and I thought this was just awesome, and I don't know that it's always a practical thing to do, but he was looking at working with a subcontractor. So he actually went and worked for them, unbeknownst to them. He did an undercover boss thing for a month, just to see how they did their business and how they operated, and if he liked it. And then after the month, Jeff let them know, hey, I'm actually, the owner of the company. And, so it was, maybe an extreme example of what needs to be accomplished is you need to make sure you're vetting your subcontractors or your teaming partners, whatever. And because everything seems good on paper. You get the quotes, maybe they were the lowest price, or, they weren't the lowest, they were the middle guy, and they have, great past performance themselves, and you want to work with them, and everything's good and it's cheery and it's, whatever, sunshine and rainbows. And then the job starts, right? And then they're not on the site, or you can't get a hold of them, or, they're not doing certified payroll or whatever. Like, they're not jumping through the hoops that they need to jump through. Things can turn to hell really, really fast, especially in construction. And it's why I get asked so many times, Derek, do some videos about, joint venturing or talk about teaming. And it's like, my first response is, if you have a strong relationship, even that doesn't protect you. But if you have a strong relationship, you can consider it. But if you don't go out looking for trouble, and kind of unless you have to, because a bad relationship can not only ruin what's going on, but it can ruin your CPARS rating. It can ruin your reputation with the government, just because you're associated with this other company that you're working with. And it's so huge. We never talk about that, but yeah, it's definitely something to be wary of.
The way the government pre-qualifies you is the way you should be pre-qualifying your subs. So we don't go work for them, but we are asking them for the financial statements.
Yeah.
And we're asking them for what jobs they've done and who was a point of contact on the job. And we call and we check, if they haven't done a job that is similar to this in size. And, it sucks because we get it on the other side, right? We're trying to do a larger job. We are limited in experience, but we have to kind of go through that process. So then we turn around and we hire a sub without even checking what jobs they've done, without even checking if they have accounting and a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement, and we shouldn't be doing that. So we're becoming right now we're working very hard at pre-qualifying it, and we subdivided our contractors into what we call a preferred sub. Somebody that we already work with and we basically loyal to and efficient with, and then we have people that we're trying to get into the preferred sub pool.
I think that's really great.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you've been through so much in the last few years. If you had to just pick one thing, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but let me know if you have something that you could share. For those that are wanting to get into government contracting, whether it's construction or not, as you know, as you said, you kind of started from humble beginnings, and you didn't even have government contracts on the brain until it was kind of the idea was brought to you. But like you said, you were driving around with a lottery ticket without even realizing it. So for those who maybe realize they have the lottery ticket, but they're afraid or they're overwhelmed or they don't know, maybe they don't know what to do or how to get started for themselves, what would you say to that small business owner or that potential small business owner who's maybe overcome with a lot of the barriers and fear and challenges of anxiety that a lot of us go through when looking at getting into the government contracting industry? Do you have anything that you would say to that person to maybe help them out?
Yeah, I think we are all victims of our emotions and our ego. And what I mean by that is, we're fearful about failing. We're fearful about not being able to pay the rent. We're fearful about different things. So then we don't take a step, or we take a step and we're very anxious. Or we have an ego and we think we know it all and we don't listen. And there's people around us that have the experience, that want to help you and don't mind, but we go, for whatever reason, we just don't listen to them, and we just think we have it figured out and we're going to do it our way. So I have to say, take inventory of how you're making your decision, and make your decision from a place of strength, of faith, of selflessness, of service, right? Say, okay, I'm going to make this business because I'm going to help X, Y, Z, right? I'm going to create a business that transcends me. And then once you do that, you have to have faith in the outcome and take it for granted. Kind of like I got the tattoo before I got the contract, right? It's like, okay, I believe in this and I'm acting like it already happened. So it's important to have faith and then take action, what I call inspired action. So you just go at it and don't quit until you get there, right? And somehow Tony Robbins likes to say, the universe conspires to create the new reality, which is what you seek, right? Once you're in alignment with all those different things. So surround yourself with people that have the experience, with people that want to help you. Be mindful of who your relationships are. Be open to learning. Be open to listening to good advice. Have faith and don't act with anxiety. Act with strength, with courage. It's okay to be fearful, but you have to have the courage to overcome your fears, right? So jump at it. The opportunity is there. Everything is possible. I'm short, ugly, Guatemalan, and I'm making it happen, right? So if I can do it, you can do it. But it is important that you keep an open mind and that you listen to people and surround yourself with people that can complement you and make you grow. I have somebody who will be my partner pretty soon, who I call him the whip, because I tend to be chatty, I tend to be inspirational, I tend to be all this. So we spend a lot of time talking. He's like, oh, here are the action items. Why hasn't anybody done anything? And he starts going at it. And he already sent me texts about me reviewing my financial statements today and all the stuff that I said I was going to do and I haven't done, and I give excuses. So, he's a whip. I need a whip. And he compliments me. And because of his devotion to the business and to the cause, we're going to grow faster. And because I have the humility to learn and to be open and to do what he's asking me to do. I mean, he's whipping me into performance. So, be that, I guess. Be an open book, be ready to learn and have faith and take action.
Absolutely. I mean, you're definitely a leader who leads by example. Thinking big is definitely the theme for this, not only this particular video today, but your entire story. And I'm so grateful that we were able to document it, even though we're capped to the amount of time we're capped to because of YouTube. I think we got a lot of great stuff out that will help to inspire, motivate, and let others know what is possible, whether they're going into construction or some other industry. I think so much of what you shared today relates to everybody, and I knew that I was going to. That's why I was so excited to be able to sit down and virtually talk with you today, Ron. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview and spend some time with me.
I want to thank you. I use your capabilities template, and I use it and I still use it, and I paid for it, and I want everybody else to pay for it because it's very helpful. And I use your consulting advice as well. Some time ago, I guess, we got on the phone and you helped me out for 45 minutes. And, I understand you're a business and you got bills to pay and responsibilities. And I gladly did that, right? And spent some of my money with you. And also the advice and the connections, some of the people that you refer me to, so I can be a lot more professional in my proposal writing. Mm-hmm. So definitely you're one of the people that is in my circle by design, right? You make me better, and I want to thank you for it. And I'm ready, willing to listen and to contribute back to your cause.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm blessed to be able to serve. That's what I asked for so many years when I was working in my government contracting job, but I was very unhappy because I'm entrepreneurial, and working for somebody else was not making me happy at the end of the day. Even though I was making a lot of money, winning a lot of contracts, it was just not what I wanted. So I kind of kept asking God to allow me to serve. Like, what is it that I can do? And that's why almost 3 years ago now, I set out on this journey, and every year it's been so much growth and been able to reach so many people and, share stories like this more and more. And so I'm blessed to be able to serve. And I'm so happy that I was able to, even in just a small way, help you along in your journey. And, we're not going anywhere. Lots of big things. So, Ron, I think we can call it here. Thank you again. And we will definitely be in touch. I look forward to hearing about all your success, and maybe you'll even get that Israel job or one of these other jobs. I
will. No tattoo yet, but I'll get it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll be in touch, and thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.